and we will be discussing the three attributes as the usability, performance, and security. I'm doing the abstraction part. In the abstraction, we will be give you an overview. So basically, as we researched, we found that Chrome OS is a production of Google, and it's only available in the Chromebooks officially made by Google and its vendors. But there are no official methods to get that OS, so it's basically used by the most of the general users who use internet for their daily activities, and especially in these days, this era, the cloud-based era, most of the people use cloud services. So, and because of that, most of the process power is from the cloud services. So with that in mind, the Chrome OS has been built, so it's very lightweight, and so there are very special features in Chrome OS which can never be similarized with the other OSs. Those are its speed, simplicity, and security. So we will be matching those to our attributes, discussing attributes. So in the with the invention of the Chrome OS, so first they had only enabled Chrome web apps, but now they have enabled Google Play, and now we can install Android applications also. And if we talk about the architecture of the Chrome OS, it has a layered architecture in the OS, and with three levels. Those three levels are firmware, system level, and the window manager. In the firmware, it has a very fast boot up process, and in the system level, we can see it's the Linux kernel, and in parallelly, it also helps for a fast boot, and that's why Chrome doesn't take only takes about 5 seconds to get started, and its window manager helps from the front end. For the user, it is very high performant, and it is very good in user interaction handling because of its architecture, because it runs every each process for for every window. It has a separate process, so it's very, and they are also sandboxed, so they are very high performant with high security. So we will be discussing security, performance, and usability. So in security, we have browser sandboxing and protecting user cache data with the browser's Chrome OS, and the performance and the high boot up speed, and the daily usage activities, and the usability. It is very usability, and it will be discussed by our fellow members. And yeah, let's go through the slides. And now I invite Shimran.
Thank you, Yusuf. Moving on to the introduction part, we can see that we can understand that the Chrome OS is a web operating system, or more like an internet operating system, where this allows the user to handle all the users to manage data from anywhere, since the web browsers that the internet web browser, since the web operating systems allow access through a web browser that includes multiple integrated inbuilt applications, so that the user can access them from anywhere. And moving on, the Google Chrome's operating system is a Linux-based open source operating system, the Chromium part, and it's created using C, C++, and JavaScript. And here we can see the Chromium OS and the Chrome OS, the main differences, as in the Chrome OS and system, where it's more developer friendly and they can check out whatever they build. And the Chrome operating system, on the other hand, is a more product-wise version. So you get these auto updates to keep the OS updated, and you get additional firmware features including verified boot and easy recovery mode. Moving on, this is software architecture for the Chrome operating system. You can see the system level software and user land services, firmware, the Chromium based browser, and the window manager. And this is how it is set up: the hardware, then the customized firmware, and that's where Linux kernel runs, and that's where you can find the on it you can find the system libraries and the graphic libraries, where you can see the Chromium operating system, the window manager running alongside. And here, moving on to the firmware offers fast boot time and incorporates system recovery if necessary. By testing each step in boot process, the firmware also contributes to security. It sets up the machine so that it can load operate system and then transfer control to the OS. This general pattern applies to any architecture, but there are some differences depending on the exact system architecture. So moving on, we can see the functions implemented by the firmware. So the firmware, there's the firmware boot and recovery. This is where, in case the device is corrupted or compromised, the recovery firmware will reinstall the Chromium OS. So the Chromium OS is also keen to support developers. Developers get a way to run alternative apps. The user is told in the alternative boot paths that they do not run a boot path given as part of Chromium OS. And also the firmware includes a recovery code path which restores the device to its original Chromium OS state. This path of recovery code will be triggered either when no chain is checked in the boot phase or when a user manually triggers recovery mode, possibly through an explicit recovery button on the device. And then the other feature, the verified boot. This is whenever the system boots, Chromium operating system tests the firmware kernel and the system image to make sure it's not tampered or corrupted. This process starts in with the firmware. So the verified boot is designed to avoid the opportunistic attacker. Although not all attacks can be detected by the verified boot, it is a considerable deterrent that can be iteratively improved. So this basically checks during every boot up session, this checks the uh, session, verifies the boot to make sure it's safe. And the system level and user land software. The system level user software of Chrome OS contains a Linux kernel, dash the boot system, performance, and speed. User land software has been reduced to essential with abstracts management capable of running parallel services, restoring crash jobs, and postponing services for faster booting. These are dependent on the dbus, the connection manager, WPS applicant, auto updates, power management, and the standard Linux services. And moving on to the security analysis, we can define security as which is not a one-time effort, but rather an iterative process that must be focused on for the life of the operating system. We can see the difference in security between the traditional operating system and the Chrome operating system. In the traditional OS, the applications have permissions which are same for the user, so they can communicate with each other easily. And but in the Chrome operating system, the applications have very limited permission. So whenever an app runs, taken into a encapsulated environment, more like a sandbox, and they are treated as untrusted apps every time. And the browser sandbox feature with the Chrome operating system offers. This helps defend against an attacker who exploits a vulnerability in the rendering engine. Chromium runs each rendering engine in a sandbox. The sandbox restricts the rendering engine's process from issuing some system calls that could help the attacker reach the goals. So this explains what was, it's quite similar to what was explained before. And here, this is a biometrics trade-off. Google keeps an eye on biometric authentication solutions as they continue to become cheaper and more efficient. But at this time, they conclude that trade-offs in terms of cost, reliability are not where they need to be for target users. They could break into one system using the authentication program For an example, face recognition, which only kept it up to the picture of the user. And the protecting cached user data feature. The Chromium OS is operating systems are intended to be both portable and safely shared. As a result, privacy protection for user data stored on the local disk is a requirement for Chromium-based operating systems. Privacy protection for user data on a local disk is accomplished via system-level encryption of users' home directories. And then here the Chromium operating system uses the encrypt F stack file system, which is a package of disk encryption software which is used for Linux. And it helps to protect each user's cache data. So cache data is encrypted using image file per user. So all the users are protected. And
Thank you, Simran. I'm Ravindu Fernando. I'm doing performance. Uh, Speed is one of the main aspects about Chrome OS. It also pays attention to the speed of all user interaction devices, keyboards, and screen. These are the features that the developers have looked into when developing. How long does it take to boot the device? How quickly do websites load? Are the graphics smooth when browsing the web or playing games? Does the screen behave correctly when the device changes modes? Do performance improve in Chrome manifest in Chrome OS? Uh, how Chrome OS achieve performance? It is a lightweight OS and it is not built for resource intensive apps such as full-featured photo editing and video editing applications. Chrome OS is designed for average daily users such as online streaming, Netflix or YouTube, or Office productive apps from Google are also web-based applications. It never lose a moment of productivity slow start. Whether you're answering an urgent email, taking notes in class, or relaxing at home, just open it up and get going. Chrome OS is OS updates without interruptions, so your Chrome OS is always running the latest and greatest software without breaking your flow. Chrome OS is fast and responsive, and so your device react quickly even when you're streaming video or multiple tabs and apps open. Now trade-off for performance attribute. But Google have found out most of the users do not need high-performance devices for their daily use. So what they have done is remove all the unnecessary features that most users do not need. By removing them, they the OS is much cheaper, and because of that, Chrome OS is much more low costly than Windows or Mac OS.
Thank you, Ravindu. I am doing the comparison and usability part. Uh, you can see in here speed of booting process. In Chrome OS, you don't have services and startup apps. That's why its speed. mm, It's only takes 7 seconds to boot up the OS. Traditional OS have to has 25 seconds to boot up the OS. In usability part, Chrome OS is a simple, fast, reliable operating system for daily tasks like preparing a Word document or presentation like this one, or light photo editing. But you can use Chrome OS only in Chromebooks. There are some websites that provide you to download Chrome OS, but it cannot be recommended because official Chrome site don't give you the chance to download Chrome OS. Chrome OS is updating automatically without interrupting your workflow, and it's always syncing with their servers and Chrome browser and Android OS. Uh, Normally, Chrome OS use Chrome Web Store as their main Play Store, main App Store. Uh, but you can enable Google Play Store in your Chrome OS, and third, but third-party app don't support your Chrome OS. It uses and Google Assistant too. Because of these things, Chrome OS is very user-friendly. Anyone can get into a Chromebook and Chrome OS. It start at $250, and although it's user friendly, there's a huge disadvantage because in Chrome OS you cannot play games like Assassin's Creed or GTA, or you can't do 3D modeling in Blender or video editing, and those kind of powerful things you can't do it in Chrome OS. And Photoshop is full featured. Photoshop does not in have in Chrome OS too. So these things are advantages. But Office 365 is available, so normal usage like a student or someone can someone use their computer for web browsing or those things, you can use it easily. This is overall comparison between Chrome OS and traditional OS. Chrome OS has 4 security layers, but others don't have those security layers. Other topics, other points I have told you in previous slide. So thank you, Mr. Sugar.
Yes. Thank you, Jiran. So this is how we analyze and analyzed our research, and so here we can conclude that it is a very successful Chrome operating system, uh, because from the architecture it gives many features for the users. For example, if we discuss about the window manager, the window manager has a very very processing features, like it has a very separate processing architecture, because because of that, switching between the apps is very fast than any other OS, because it has a very unique way of handling the windows of every app. um, so that's a very advantage for the user for the front end. And if in the middle level, the special thing is that it's based on Linux kernel, and it Linux kernel can be modified, and it can be modified for any use. And now they support more than 5 application technologies. So it's also an huge advantage. And the security features, the as every application is sandbox, so there will be no virus sharing or a defect sharing between its applications. So it's very the defects if from the virus, also the attacks, is very minimal because of that sandboxing. And also because of the cloud storage, most of the things are not stored in the device, Chrome OS device. So it's very unfamiliar, because unfamiliar with attacks, because although an attack comes, there will be no harm to the storage, because everything is cloud storage. And that is also a very advantage. And it is very high performance. So because of these things, as well from this graph also we can see that it is very increasing their sales in every year. So we can conclude this that it is very successful software architecture for an operating system who are for the users who are web related. Thank you.